Hello everyone, welcome to Options with Doug, streaming live on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Bookmap Discord and the Bookmap YouTube channel. Before I get started, I need to go through the disclosures. General disclosure, all Bookmap Ltd materials, information, and presentations are for educational purposes only and should not be considered specific investment advice nor recommendations. Risk disclosure, trading futures, equities, and options involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Here's my contact information. The best way to get in touch with me is through Discord. My name on Discord is Doug P. Also in Bookmap Discord, there's an Options-Doug chat channel. That's a great place to post questions, comments, and content related to the topics of my presentation and the topics of the channel that I'll go through in just a moment. Here are the key tenets to my approach for trading. This is the basis of my approach to trading. I believe that options trades and market maker hedging activity are key drivers of price in many stocks and futures, and certainly in the large cap tech stocks like the Mag 7 stocks that I follow and trade, as well as the equity index futures like the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ 100. And for the S&P 500, SPX is the underlying index, SPY is the ETF version of that index, and ES is a derivative of SPX. And when traders buy and sell puts and calls in SPX and SPY, market makers take the opposite side of those trades and they hedge their delta exposure with ES futures. And for the NASDAQ 100, NDX is the underlying index, QQQ is the much more liquid ETF version of that index, and NQ is a derivative of NDX. And when traders buy and sell puts and calls in NDX and QQQ, market makers take the opposite side of those trades and they hedge their delta exposure with NQ futures. The focus of my presentation today and the focus of the Options-Doug chat channel is options order flow, the impact of options markets on stocks and futures, and the influence of market maker hedging flow on price action. I have a two-step process for trading, and the first is planning, and I use positional analysis. I look at how traders and market makers are positioned in the options market and how those positions change from day to day to develop a thesis regarding the expected trading range and volatility for the day, as well as the directional bias. And the second step in my process is execution. I look at real-time order flow on Bookmap and real-time market maker hedging flow on Spotgamma Hero to confirm my thesis, and for setups, for entries and exits. And when I talk about setups today, I will be focusing on an underlying asset. Setups in that asset can be taken with shares of stock, futures, or options, depending on the asset. Questions and comments are welcome, and I will be watching both the Options-Doug chat channel as well as the chat and YouTube for your questions and comments. Please feel free to post. I'll do my best to answer your questions. Hello, Stephen. Welcome. Glad you're here. Hello, everyone else. Welcome. Glad you're here as well. All right, here's my agenda for today, Wednesday, May 22nd. First of all, I want to go over news items for today as well as the rest of the week. Then I'll go through my positional analysis. Then I'll review some setups from earlier today. And then I'll take a look at the live market. And I want to get through the first two items as quickly as possible to get to setup review and the live market. All right, so let's start with economic data, news events, and earnings. All right, so first of all, the FOMC minutes are released at 2 p.m. I'll stop whatever I'm doing at that time and take a look at the live market. I don't know if there will be any reaction or not, but we'll stop for a couple of minutes and take a look at the live market. Also note that Nvidia reports earnings after the market closes, and that is quite a topic of conversation on many news outlets. Highly anticipated earnings report could be a pivot for the market. All right, the rest of the week, there is some PMI data out tomorrow, 9:45 a.m. Eastern Time, and then Friday, durable goods orders at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, and Michigan consumer sentiment at 10 a.m. All right, so that is the news for today as well as the rest of the week. Let's move on to positional analysis. I'm going to start with the SP 500, and not much to see here. This is a very, very narrow trading range. Again, not much to see here. And before I take a closer look at this chart, I want to take a look at a higher time frame. I'm going to go to the underlying index, SPX. We've all seen this chart before. 5-month rally began October 30th last year. Correction began April 1st, and then this rally resumed on the Monday after April expiration, shown by that dark red line. That was April 22nd. Pretty typical pivot or turn in the market after an expiration. All right, let's pick that up on a 1-hour chart. Excuse me. Let's pick that up on a 1-hour chart. So an SPX 1-hour chart. Here's where the rally resumed the Monday after the April expiration, October 22nd. And for this week, basically, SPX has been trading at a very narrow range that's shown here. All right, let's take a look at the levels on this chart. I'm going to point out, first of all, the expected moves. The dashed purple line showing the lower and upper weekly expected move. This is based on the options market, based on the closing price for SPX from last Friday. These levels remain in place for the entire week. This is the weekly expected move. Then the dashed blue lines are showing the lower and upper daily expected move. Also based on the options market, the closing price for SPX from yesterday. And note I post both of those levels every evening the day before in Discord and the Options-Doug chat channel. All right, so those are the expected moves based on the options market. Now let's take a look at the Spotgamma levels. These are the dark red lines. These are provided to Spotgamma subscribers. They're available on a variety of trading platforms. This is Thinkorswim. I'm going to point out the key daily levels. These are based on gamma-weighted open interest. First of all, the put wall is now at 49.50. It did drop down yesterday from 5,000 to 49.50. So that's the put wall. That's a strike with the largest net negative gamma that can be expected to act as support. And the next level up is the volatility trigger. Sorry, this chart is a little bit compressed. That's because this 5,000 and the 49.50 level are so far down. All right, so the next level up is the volatility trigger at 52.95, and that is Spotgamma's proprietary volatility flip level. Below that level, market makers' position on the gamma curve is negative. In a negative gamma environment, market makers have to trade with price to hedge their delta exposure. That tends to subdue or decrease volatility. That tends to enhance or increase volatility. Above that level, like SPX is trading now, market makers' position on the gamma curve is positive. In a positive gamma environment, market makers have to trade against price to hedge their delta exposure, and that tends to subdue or decrease volatility. So below that level, again, negative gamma, market makers trading with price and increasing volatility. Above that level, positive gamma, market makers trading against price. That tends to subdue or decrease volatility. And just above that is the 5,300 level. That is the absolute gamma strike. That's the strike with the largest absolute positive and negative gamma. And then up above that is the call wall at 5,400. That's a strike with the largest net positive gamma that can be expected to act as resistance. And note there were no shifts in levels for the SPX from yesterday to today. So that would lead to a neutral thesis, especially given the positive gamma that we'll take a look at in just a minute. All right, so no shifts in levels for SPX. Let's wrap up our view of SPX with a 1-minute chart. just so we can see the levels in play for today. So this is showing that very narrow range for this week, starting on Monday. Very narrow trading range, just about a 20-point range from low to high for the last 3 days. Not much to see here. Volatility trigger and absolute gamma strike below. And then the 5,400 level well above. All right, let's move on to Bookmap. In Bookmap, I have my own cloud notes. So I can show SPX levels. Here's the 5320 level. That was noted as resistance in the Spotgamma AM Founders Note. And it's more or less been doing its job, acting as resistance. A lot of price action right around that level. And note, the point of control, it may be difficult to see, that is this purple line here, has moved up to that 5320 level. You can see it here. The purple point of control on top of the 5320 level. And this is the SPY 531 level, large gamma 4 level, just below that 5320 level. So I've got SPY levels and SPX levels on this chart. Also key levels for ES. There's the lower daily expected move. So now it looks like the S&P 500 is traded down to the SPY 530 level. That is the absolute gamma strike and also the volatility trigger. And for SPY, that volatility trigger did shift slightly higher from yesterday. All right, so that was the only shift in level for SPY. So for the S&P 500, the only shifts in levels was the move higher in the volatility trigger, just a minor move higher. So not really, no significant shifts. So again, a neutral thesis for the S&P 500. Note there is a difference in price between ES and SPX, and it's somewhere between 21 and 22. Just a few minutes ago, I moved it up to 22. Now it looks like it may be closer to 21. So anyway, ES minus SPX today is somewhere between 21 and 22. So maybe a better number would be 21 and a half. Anyway, I'm using 22, so I'm showing this 5320 level at ES 5342. All right, so overall, not a lot to see here. Very narrow range in the S&P 500. So let's move on. Let's take a look at NASDAQ. This is the NQ futures and Bookmap. And before I take a closer look at this chart, let's take a quick look at the underlying index charts. Start with QQQ. QQQ now down at the low of the day. Earlier today, this 455.8, that is a combo 4 level combining QQQ and NDX, gamma weighted open interest into one level, acted as support, and just recently price broke through that level down to 455. And that 455 level is a large gamma 2 level. That was also noted as resistance in the Spotgamma AM Founders Note. All right, let's take a quick look at NDX. NDX for today, initially earlier today, continuing a trend that began, an uptrend that began yesterday morning, broke that trend at the NDX 18,740 put wall, which is actually higher than the call wall. So very thin options market in NDX, and that can happen. So after reaching this high, that looks like right around 11:30, NDX started to make a series of lower highs and then broke to the downside. All right, so the call wall volatility trigger at 18,600, 500 down below. All right, so this is the NQ futures and Bookmap. And again, I have my own cloud notes with NDX levels. There's that 740 put wall. There's that QQQ 455.8 combo 4 level. All right, so NASDAQ also breaking lower. We'll take a look at setups in just a few minutes. All right, let's wrap up positional analysis by taking a look at gamma notional. This is market maker's position on the gamma curve at the beginning of the day. And just to mention, for the NASDAQ, the NDX put wall and QQQ put walls both moved higher. And for the volatility trigger for QQQ, moved slightly lower. So minor shifts in levels overall for NASDAQ and the SP 500. All right, this is the data table at the bottom of the Spotgamma AM Founders Note. I'm going to take a look at gamma notional. At the beginning of the day, so this is market maker's position on the gamma curve at the beginning of the day for the S&P 500 and NASDAQ. Note all these numbers are positive, indicating in this position traders are short calls, market makers are long calls, hence the positive gamma, and this applies to an index. Hence the positive gamma, market makers have to trade against price to hedge their delta exposure. And again, that tends to subdue or decrease volatility. And note, again, these numbers are all positive. They did shift higher from yesterday. So after the Friday expiration, they did shift lower for a couple of days and now shifting back higher. All right, so based on all this, my thesis for the day was neutral for the S&P 500 and NASDAQ, looking for trading range and lower volatility. All right, so let's move on now to execution, move on to real-time execution. So everything that I've showed so far is based on static data, other than Bookmap. Static data, these gamma levels are based on open interest. Spotgamma applies their own algorithms to that data. Slodorazi says, VIX expiry today, reason for the drop. The VIX expiration was at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time, so I'm not sure that, I'm not sure about that. Maybe. All right, so let's just, we'll take a look at the live market. All right, Slodorazi says, market able to move more freely. Now, VIX position's gone. Okay. All right, so WRB asks, can Hero separate actual show strikes 0 day as opposed to combined gamma levels? So Hero does not show strikes. It just shows the overall options trades and market maker hedging activity. Yeah, so Razi, we'll get to, we'll take a look at the live market in just a moment. In 10 minutes at 2 p.m. All right, so let's move on now to real-time data. This is the hero signal in Bookmap. So what this chart is showing is options trades and market maker hedging activity for a combined signal of SPX, SPY, XSP, and ES futures. There are two lines on this chart. First of all, the white line is showing price for SPX, and the purple line is showing the hero signal, that is HIRO, hedging impact real-time options. So this is real-time data. This is showing what options traders are doing and these instruments. So when traders, again, when traders buy and sell puts and calls in SPX and SPY, market makers take the opposite side of those trades and they have to hedge their delta exposure with ES futures. All right, let's zoom in on this chart. And a rising hero signal indicates traders are taking positive delta options positions. They are buying calls and or selling puts. And a falling hero signal indicates they are taking negative delta options positions. They're buying puts and or selling calls. So this is the traditional signal for the SP 500. This is the one that has been around for quite a while, this combined signal. There's a new hero signal that we can take a look at as well. Let me zoom back out. And this is a combined signal showing options trades and market maker hedging activity for all 500 stocks in the SP 500. And it pays to look at both of these. So let's go back, zoom in. And we'll take a look at both. So the initially in the morning for the first 5 minutes, this hero signal was positive, bullish, positive delta. Let's take a look at the SP 500. And that lasted a little bit longer, up until about 9:45. So if you like to trade the open, both hero signals point up right after the open. Let's go back to Bookmap, go to the SP 500. And we'll take a look at what's going on right now in just a minute. So a quick look at this morning. Good for about a 5-point move higher in the morning before finding resistance around these two levels, the SPX 5320, SPY 531. All right, let's take a look. Let's go back to Hero. Let's take a look and see what's going on now. So we're in the S&P 500 signal now. Let's zoom in on this a little bit. So note that Hero started making lower highs as SPX made an equal high. Let me draw that again with just a trend line. No, so Hero signal making lower highs. SPX makes an equal high and then starts to drop as the Hero signal dropped. Oops. All right, at this point, I'm going to separate out puts and calls so we can get a little bit more clarity. I'm going to have to jump. All right, so this is the S&P equities. We'll get back to the S&P 500 in just a minute. So this is definitely more bearish today. Clear, bearish signal. Puts and calls moving down. The orange line showing calls. Falling orange line, traders are selling calls. Falling blue line, traders are buying puts. And price breaks lower just right around 130 or so. All right, let's move on to the NASDAQ. So this is the traditional signal combining options trades and market maker hedging activity for the NDX and QQQ. And this is really looking bearish, starting right around 1230. This large vertical line indicates a big block order, institutional order, somebody selling calls in size. And then right around let's say 115, traders start buying puts that's shown by the falling blue line, start selling calls. Price responds a few minutes later with a sharp drop. So this hedging flow has been bearish really since about 12:15, definitely bearish. Let's take a look at the Mag 7 signal. This is another combined signal. This is combining options trades and market maker hedging activity. For a combined signal of the stocks known as the Magnificent Seven: Apple, Amazon, Google, Meta, Microsoft, Nvidia, Tesla. All right, let's zoom back in. So just like the SB equity signal, this has definitely been bearish for most of the day. Traders selling calls and buying puts. Let's take a look at Bookmap again. Go to NASDAQ. All right, so in the morning, if you like to trade their open, there was a small move higher, then a lot of chop. Then NASDAQ started to make a series of lower highs. And you can see it's really clear here. The volume dots in Bookmap showing market buy minus sell. Green volume dots indicate more buyers than sellers. And magenta dots indicate more sellers than buyers. So order flow here in this last move shifts definitely bearish. Price breaks below VWAP, that's shown by that light blue line. So finding resistance at this level that has more or less acted as resistance before. The 740 put wall, price breaks sharply lower. And let's go back to Hero. So you can see the series of lower highs here. And this is price in terms of QQQ. And starting about 1240. Blue line, put line, traders buying puts. Orange line, call line, traders selling calls, both moving in the same direction, down. Very bearish, strong directional indicator down. All right, I've got about just over a minute. Let's take a quick look at, actually, let's just go, we'll go to the live market. And then I did want to review a setup that I posted yesterday. All right, so we're looking at, let's look at SB equities. And note this SB equities is also almost always very similar to the Mag 7 stock. So I sometimes call it the Mag 7 plus 493. All right, so we're looking at SB equities. Let's go back to the SB 500, zoom in a little bit. All right, so I've got about 30 seconds to the data release, or the FOMC minutes. So we'll watch as the algos parse the minutes. So there may or may not be anything to this, but we'll take a look for a couple of minutes. Then I've got some good stocks setups to take a look at. Zoom in a little bit more. So it looks like this is the ES, lower daily expected move. So that was support earlier. Now it looks like price has broken through that level. All right, I'm going to watch CNBC on another screen on another computer. See if they stream anything in the ticker. Zoom in a little bit more. Let's just check SPX. See how it's doing with the lower daily expected move. Looks like that did act as support so far. So again, I do calculate the lower daily expected moves, or the expected moves for ES and SPX separately or independently. Let's see what options traders are doing. We'll zoom in a bit. All right, so we're on the S&P equities. Not much movement by options traders. Let's check the S&P 500. So still call line and put line shifting lower. Same for the S&P equities. Let's go back to Bookmap. All right, so let's see. Now the S&P 500 is breaking below 5,300. All right, from the FOMC minutes, recent data suggested disinflation process would take longer than expected. That does not seem like new information to me. But anyway, now SPX breaking below 5,300. Let's see what's down below. All right, so the next, so now breaking below the 52.95 volatility trigger. We'll see if that'll act as support. All right, so the next Spotgamma level down below is the 52.65 level that was noted as support in the Spotgamma AM Founders Note. And Dan P. asked, could you take a look at FTSE when you have a moment, please? I'm interested to see what impact the general election announcement today has had. Dan, I don't have access to FTSE. Maybe if you could, I certainly don't have it on Bookmap. And there would be nothing related to the to FTSE and Hero. All right, so it looks like some aggressive buyers are starting to come in. You can see the green volume dots. Are right around the 52.95 volatility trigger. Let's see what options traders are doing. Go back to Hero. All right, so just a little blip in the hero signal for the S&P equities. Let's check S&P 500. All right, so a little bit of reaction around the 52.95 volatility trigger. Let's take a quick look at NASDAQ. So it looks like a reaction around the lower daily expected move for NQ. And one thing to note here in Bookmap is large traders were fading this move lower. They were buying NQ futures with iceberg orders they used to hide their size. That's shown by the rising light blue line. And this is often a good signal to look for, in this case, look for a long or at least a long scalp. CVD and stop orders falling, iceberg orders rising, price reverses higher, aggressive buyers start to come in, and then CVD shifts higher. In this case, setting up a nice long scalp anyway. You can see the shift in order flow. Right around the level that you expect to act as support. That's the lower daily expected move. All right, let's move on. Let's take a look at some stocks. And I want to start with a setup that I did post yesterday. This is an SMCI. This stock is not the most liquid stock in the world. Probably better traded with option spreads or options rather than, or probably options spreads. That was my approach. But let's take a look at this. And this, so this was a long setup. Again, I posted this in Discord and in Twitter, X. So note we'll take a look at the order flow first. So price right around 945 breaks above VWAP and stays above VWAP. And that checks one box off my setup checklist for a long. Green volume dots, aggressive buyers start to come in. Cumulative volume delta rising, that's shown by the light blue line. Price targets up above, liquidity levels. This is the heat map and Bookmap showing a history of the limit orders. These are limit sell orders above price. They tend to act as a magnet for price. And here was a nice entry point right at this first deep pullback to VWAP, right around 1015. And note every deep pullback, I'm using this market pulse price change indicator. And these extremes help to identify the deeper pullbacks that are good for pullback entries in a trend, either an uptrend or a downtrend. And a downtrend, we'd be looking at the green extremes. All right, so that is a long setup. Cumulative volume delta rising, price above VWAP, making a series of lower highs. Let's take a look and see what options traders are doing. So this is certainly not as liquid as, let's say, a stock like Nvidia, but traders were buying calls, shown by the rising orange line. When traders buy calls, market makers sell the calls, and they have to buy stock to hedge their delta exposure. And they were also selling puts. That's shown by the rising light blue line, also the positive notional value. And note, I'm just showing the beginning of it, right around 1230. Call buyers take the foot off the gas and price move lower. All right, so long setup, and Nvidia checks all the boxes. Price above VWAP, Hero rising, cumulative volume delta rising, and price making a series of higher lows and higher highs and entry points. Confirmed with this price change extremes shown by the market pulse price change indicator. All right, so that's from yesterday. Now let's take a look at today. All right, so the first stock I want to take a look at is Coinbase. Coinbase is a great trading stock, very high range, typical high daily range, especially for the price of the stock, right around $230 now. All right, so let's start with options trades, see what options traders are doing in Coinbase today. I'm going to go to the total signal. In this case, it makes it a little bit more clear. All right, so I'm going to zoom in a little bit so we can get a bit bigger picture. Sorry about that. Auto zoom issue. All right, so notice right around 10 a.m. Hero signal was falling. Oops. Initially, Hero signal was falling. Price already had started to make higher lows. Then starting around 10 a.m., the Hero signal confirms the move higher. Traders taking positive delta positions. Let's go back to Bookmap. All right, so let me point out one thing I have on this chart. This is the Bookmap correlation tracker. And what this is showing is correlation to Bitcoin futures. And I have this, I've subscribed to the Bitcoin futures on Rhythmic. I need to check the K to make sure that is still the front month. So here's the correlation tracker in Bookmap, and I have set it to correlate to the Bitcoin futures. That's that dark magenta line. And Coinbase, the reason I do that is Coinbase has a very strong correlation to Bitcoin. You could use spot Bitcoin if you're connected to one or more of the crypto exchanges. I'm just using Bitcoin futures. All right, so we know that traders were taking positive delta positions. That was confirmed around 10 a.m. No price was making a series of higher lows, breaks above VWAP, shown by the light blue line. Also, Bitcoin was rising, shown by the rising magenta line. As traders were taking positive delta positions, checks all the boxes for a long entry. Pullbacks highlighted again with the market pulse indicator. Extremes, pullback entries. And I would say not every extreme here is a pullback entry, but every pullback entry is confirmed with an extreme in the market pulse price change indicator. All right, so note that right around 12:15, Bitcoin starts to fall, and that's where Coinbase makes its high of the day so far. Let's see what options traders are doing. All right, so right around that time, options traders take their foot off the gas as Bitcoin starts to move lower and Coinbase starts to move lower. Let's shift back to the total signal or the put call signal. I'm going to have to jump back. Or you can see the move higher starting right around 11:15, primarily driven by call buyers, and they quickly take their foot off the gas, start selling calls, price moves lower. Also, the put line levels off. All right, let's move on. Next stock, Meta. And in the morning, traders aggressively buying calls. That's pretty typical for Meta. They take their foot off the gas right around 11:30. Also selling puts, that's shown by the rising blue line. And as they also take their foot off the gas, start buying puts. So starting right around 11:20, 11:30, they started selling calls, buying puts. So on the way up, blue line, orange line moving the same direction up, bullish indicator. And starting around 11:20, 11:30, they start selling calls and buying puts, and price moves lower. So very coordinated signal there with puts and calls. Let's go to Meta. So traders remember, traders started taking negative delta positions, let's say around 11:20. You can see all the green volume dots on the way up. Rising cumulative volume delta shown by the dark blue line. Cumulative volume delta quickly flattens. Aggressive sellers start to come in as traders started taking negative delta positions. Trend break, a retest of 472, and price moves lower. And note also that price tested this 467.50 hedge wall level right before moving higher. Opening print just above that. Price tested the 467.50 level and moved higher. All right, let's move on to the stock of the day. That is Nvidia. And again, for anyone who is not aware, Nvidia does report earnings after the close today. And here's what traders have been doing. Quick move lower, a lot of chop between 945 and 950, and then as the markets move lower, S&P 500 and NASDAQ, Nvidia move lower, or Nvidia move lower and the markets move lower with it. All right, so you can see all the magenta volume dots starting to come in as price breaks below VWAP. Sharply falling cumulative volume delta. Let's see what options traders are doing in Nvidia. All right, so in the morning, traders were aggressively selling calls. Note the flow alert indicating significant options activity comes in, it looks like about 10 minutes after the cash open. Put line was pretty flat at that point. Right around 10:30, call sellers take the foot off the gas. Price chops around. Let's zoom in a little bit. So right around 1:30 or so, traders start, maybe 1:35, really start selling calls, buying puts. Price moves lower. Looks like they pretty quickly took their foot off the gas. Overall, pretty choppy day in Nvidia. But net for the day, traders are buying puts and selling calls, shown by the notional value for the blue line, negative notional value for the call line and blue line. Net for the day, traders are buying puts and selling calls. All right, let's take a look at SMCI today. So pretty choppy day for SMCI, right around, let's say 11, just before 11:10. The call line starts to drop sharply lower. Flow alert comes in, and already traders have been steadily buying puts. So really around 11:10, call buyers really start selling traders start selling calls. They've been buying puts. Price moves lower. Flow alert to get your attention. Significant options activity. And the price really broke lower. In this case, it looks like a little bit before maybe some other stocks move lower right around 115. Let's go take a look at Bookmap. Go to SMCI. All right, so here's a break out of this wedge pattern. This was a little bit of a head fake. It did one more test of 905 above, then broke below the 900 key gamma strike. Traded in a 10-point range. Retest a VWAP just below 900 key gamma strike, then a sharp drop lower. Note what I did yesterday. I initially, in the trade that I showed earlier today, from yesterday, actually, looks like I closed the other trade. But anyway, I bought a call spread, and as price started to level off, options traders started leveled off, took their foot off the gas, sold a call spread. So I had a no risk call condor, and then took that off toward the end of the day for a nice profit. So got no risk out pretty quickly by spreading it off. All right, let's take a look at Tesla. Very bearish day here in Tesla. Let's see what options traders have been doing in Tesla. Oops. Sorry, I clicked the wrong thing. Let's go to Tesla. Calls and puts. Initially, traders were pretty aggressively buying puts. And the starting ran around 10. They started selling calls. And since then, the blue line and orange line have been both moving in the same direction, down. Very powerful directional indicator, in this case, bearish. And traders continue to sell calls and buy puts in Tesla. So Tesla making a series of nice series of lower highs, lower lows. So let's look at the, let's check the boxes. So first of all, starting around 10, both the orange line, blue line moving the same direction down. So Hero moving down. Tesla making a series of lower highs. Here, if you do wait for VWAP, price broke below VWAP just before 11 a.m. Cumulative volume delta dropping So checks all the boxes for a short, a bearish setup. Let's go back and take a look at Hero. All right, so traders continue to take negative delta positions. Note that 182.50 is the hedge wall and 180 is the key gamma strike. So now price is trading below both of those levels. Here's the 182.50 level. So that would have been another signal, a good entry point for a short. Price making 3 lower highs and then breaks below that 182.50 level and then breaks below the 180 key gamma strike. All right, does anyone have any stocks they want me to take a look at? Let's go back and check the live market now. So now it looks like after this initial test of, this is the ES futures, this initial test of the 52.95 volatility trigger, a little bit below that. The lower daily expected move acted as resistance. Price broke below the 5,300 absolute gamma strike, and now the volatility trigger acting as resistance. Let's go back, Hero. Let's take a look and see what options traders are doing. Let's check the S&P 500 first. Both the orange line and blue line continue to move higher, lower. Traders continue to sell calls and buy puts. And that's the S&P 500 signal. Same thing in the S&P equities. Traders are definitely taking negative delta positions in stocks, buying puts and selling calls. Let's take a quick look at NASDAQ. Same thing. Mag 7, same thing. All right, so in the case of NASDAQ now, this QQQ 453.98 combo 1 level acting as resistance, 454 level just above that, and now NQ trading below the lower daily expected move. All right, last call for stocks or questions. Let's check Nvidia. Continues to move lower. A lot of aggressive sellers ahead of earnings. All right, so turning out to be a pretty bearish day today. Coinbase, Meta, good longs in the morning. Tesla, good short from the open. And then Nvidia and SMCI, somewhat choppy in the morning, but now moving lower. All right, everyone, my time is up. I want to thank you very much for watching. Thank you for your questions and comments. Remember, Nvidia reports earnings after the close, if you haven't heard that 100 times already. And then we'll talk about it on Friday. Everyone have a great afternoon, and I will see you on Friday. Thanks. Bye.